This is the Kia Seltos. It's a small SUV that starts at around $30,000, and this top spec model is around 10 grand more. It's terrific value for money. But is it any good? Let's find out. The small SUV category is the most hotly contested in the country, with the best-selling car in Australia in fact being a small SUV. It's the Toyota RAV4. So car makers have to do something really special to help them stand out from the crowd. And with the Seltos, Kia have focused on design, value for money and performance. I really like the exterior design of the Seltos. It has echoes of Range Rover and Audi about it. It feels very contemporary and very now. I especially like this headlight design with the LEDs built in and the nice little pattern here on top. The blacked out pillars also give it a really premium feel. The Seltos GT Line rides on these very attractive 18-inch rims and also comes with a full-size spare in the back. I know this because somehow during the week I managed to drive over a nail, which thankfully only caused a small, slow leak, which was detected by the car's tyre pressure monitoring system. In addition to having a full-size spare tyre in the back, there is a slightly smaller than expected 433 litres of room, expandable to 1,393 with the rear seats folded down, which is more than enough for a carload of flat-pack IKEA furniture, as I found out during the week. The joys of moving. There are two engine choices available with the Kia Seltos depending on the model you get. The entry-level models get a slightly anemic, naturally aspirated 4-cylinder 2-litre engine, and the high-spec models get this, a turbocharged 1.6-litre 4-cylinder unit that outputs 130 kilowatts of power and 265 Newton-meters of torque. It has a dual-clutch transmission and drives its power to all four wheels. This is definitely the one to go for. Inside, I really like the design, but I do have to warn you, a lot of plastics died to make this interior. And I'm not kidding, just about every surface looks fantastic, but the moment you touch it, plastic, and it's really hard and very scratchy. The center console screen is a beautiful big 10.25-inch unit. It's razor sharp, has great looking graphics, runs pretty much the same software that you find in other Kias and Hyundais, and they've given the home screen icons a bit of a makeover with a sort of purple neon light effect. It looks really cool. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are standard, and weirdly, the spec sheet for next year's model in 2021 says that the entry-level models will score wireless Apple CarPlay, where the upper-level models miss out on it. That's a bit strange. Underneath that, we've got air conditioning and climate controls. There's only single zone climate control in this car, but the controls are really easy to use. A cordless phone charger underneath that, as well as a USB outlet and a 12-volt port. Down here next to the gear shifter, we've got the controls for the heated and cooled seats, also hill descent control and the heated steering wheel. That's a bit of a favourite one of mine. A couple of cup holders, automatic park brake and auto hold to keep you still at red lights. Up here we've got the head-up display, which has some razor sharp, very bright graphics on it, and unlike some other cars, you actually can see them with polarized sunglasses on. Underneath that, we've got the instrument cluster, which is a hybrid digital analog unit with a nice big screen in between the two. You can select whatever information you want to display in the middle of that, but unfortunately no maps. The steering wheel has a nice leather wrap around it and more buttons for the cruise control, as well as sound system and phone controls. We've got leather seats throughout, and the front seats are extremely comfortable with plenty of electric adjustment, although I do have to say that the seating position is just maybe a little bit too high for me, but having said that, visibility is very, very good. Now, this may be a small SUV, but there's actually a load of room in the back seat. I'm very surprised. I'm 190 centimeters tall. I'm sitting behind my own seating position and my knees aren't quite touching the seat in front of me. This is great. I love it. Plenty of footroom as well. My head's nowhere near the ceiling. I reckon we could squeeze 3 people in here fairly comfortably, at least on a short trip. A couple of air vents back here for the air conditioning, as well as a USB charger. So yeah, this is actually really good. Oh, and the armrest, of course, with a couple of cup holders too. When I first got into this car, I was really pleasantly surprised at how much power there is. Put your foot down, especially in sport mode, and it really takes off with only a minimal amount of turbo lag. Plenty of power on the highway for overtaking and getting up hills. The steering feels nice and responsive. The suspension does get a little bit unsettled on some of the bumpy roads around town, but it's not overly worrisome. It could be a tad smoother maybe. but oh my God, this car likes to beep. It will beep and verbally tell you about every single school zone, red light and speed camera, even if they're nowhere near you. I was driving on the freeway the other day and I got a school zone warning. You can of course turn it all off, but that means sitting down and going through menus, and who has time? This car has been attracting a bit of attention, I have to say. I was talking to a guy the other day who came very close to buying one, but he said that he thought that the boot space wasn't quite big enough for him and his new family. And well, whilst I managed to get a whole load of flat pack IKEA gear in here, I can kind of see that for a family on a road trip, there might not be quite enough room in the boot. So with the active cruise control on and the lane keep assist, you can in theory almost let this car drive itself. The only thing is that it does sort of meander about the lane a little bit, and some of the markings on the road can kind of throw it. So you do definitely want to keep your hands on the wheel. Plus, if you do take them off, you get a big warning on the screen saying, put your hands on the wheel. Even though the seating position is maybe just a little bit higher than I'd like, the visibility is fantastic. I can see right to the front corners of the car. Visibility out the back through the rear vision mirror is terrific, as are the wing mirrors. They're nice and big, and there are blind spot monitors on the mirrors as well. I always get a little bit concerned when you look here on the sun visor and you can see that there's a warning label saying higher rollover risk. You got to be wondering just how fast you have to be going around a corner to make this car tip over. Not that I really want to find out. But in truthfulness, I mean, that is something you do see on a lot of small SUVs. They do have a slightly higher center of gravity and they're not as wide as some of the bigger models. So that is a very real concern. But you would have to be driving pretty hard to actually roll this car over, I think. And being a light SUV with only all-wheel drive capability, although you can lock it on, you probably wouldn't be taking it on the roughest tracks you could find anyway. I think you'd be doing light off-roading with this car, probably leaving the heavier stuff to the more serious four-wheel drives. With Kia's 7-year warranty and a $43,290 asking price, the Kia Seltos GT line mounts a very convincing argument for itself in the crowded small SUV market. It drives well, it's keenly priced, and it looks great. It's just the plasticky interior that lets it down slightly, but if you can see beyond that, then the Seltos is well worth checking out.